Hello viewers, you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Cisse, and this is your one-to-one interview. And in this interview, we are honored to be joined by the Peace Corps Global Director, Carol Spa, who is actually making our first visit to the Gambia. I mean, for most of us who were born and brought up in the village, I mean, we have seen Peace Corps coming in our communities, staying with us. I mean, impacting positively, on our lives. And in the Gambia, I mean, they have been here since 1967. Well, Madam Director, thank you so much for coming on this one-to-one interview. I mean, like I said, this is your first time in the Gambia. Can you just share with us, I mean, about the goals and mission of Peace Corps in the Gambia?
Yeah, well, first let me just say thank you for inviting me here today. It's a great honor to be here in the country, visiting our team here and our volunteers and the communities where we serve. Peace Corps' mission is to promote world peace and friendship, which is a very bold mission. And the way we think about it is we do that one person, one relationship that you build across difference at a time. And the skills that we learn when we come together across difference are what forms that basis of connection and of lasting friendship and connection. And we see that with our volunteers. So those who have served in 1967 or 70 stay involved with their communities. They stay involved with Peace Corps, and the Gambia becomes a second home to them. It's really quite beautiful.
And like you said, since 1967 to now, they have been coming to the country. Could you just share with us, I mean, what exactly they've been doing in the Gambia?
Well, each volunteer brings unique skill set, and they work with the community to really determine what are the priorities in that community. But we generally work in the areas right now of education, health, and agriculture. So supporting literacy, numeracy, community gardens, nutrition, and things of that nature. So it's very diverse, but really focused at the grassroots level.
And like you said, you're focusing on the grassroots level. I mean, how has been the impact of this program in the country?
We've had almost 2,000 volunteers serving here in the Gambia since 1967. So I wish I could put the impact, in a number, okay, right? But I'll tell you some of the stories that I've heard. And the first one is about lasting connection. So even earlier today, I met a reporter, Omar, who grew up in the village and had dropped out of school. And he said he was inspired by a Peace Corps volunteer to continue his education. And he got somewhat emotional and teared up a little bit and said, if not for that volunteer, I wouldn't be here today. So I think there is that spark of inspiration that happens when people come together and work together to support grassroots development. We also have a volunteer, Isba, who is working on numeracy out in a very, very rural community, one where some of the people from the Ministry of Education said sometimes they even have a hard time getting local teachers to go. And her counterpart developed a program to support numeracy, and their school was in the top 10 of public and private schools nationwide. So they're now rolling that out to other teachers, other communities, and working with the ministries to develop manuals and videos so that other teachers can support those interactive techniques. So it's very much about how you utilize the creativity of the volunteers and the community members to come together and create that spark. And those stories are told over and over and over again across communities around the Gambia, where there's tremendous potential, tremendous knowledge, and sometimes it's just a lack of opportunity that's might be holding people back.
Like I said, I mean, your first time in the country, just last Tuesday, I mean, you attended the opening of a new office in the country.
Yes.
One will ask, since 1967 to now, why now? And how do you think this new office is going to, contribute to the United States and Gambia relationship?
Sure. Well, as you may know, Peace Corps had to evacuate all of its volunteers globally for the first time ever during the COVID-19 pandemic. And before we returned volunteers to the country, we came to the ministries and said, would you like us back? We were welcomed with open arms, and this new building is more than a new building. It's a symbol of our commitment to the Gambia, hopefully 60 years into the future.
And I mean, like I said, I mean, the first time you have in this office, what should we expect going forward as far as the Peace Corps intervention in the country is concerned?
Well, we're always looking to really build on our strengths and see how we can expand our impact. And the strength of Peace Corps really is about volunteers serving at the grassroots level, learning the local language. They learn Wolof, they learn Pular, they learn Badinka, and that's the beauty and the core of our value system and our ethos, right? But as we are entering this new phase, there are a lot of tools now that are coming to our disposal, whether it's information technology or different ways to expand impact, like I just told you, with videos that can go out to all of the teachers to support training techniques. So I think that's what you can expect to see from Peace Corps, is that continuous innovation, really building on the strengths of Peace Corps' approach and the strengths that are there at the community level.
Like I said, I mean, most of them, they travel from the United States as volunteers. They leave their comfort zone in the US, come stay in communities without electricity and all those, basic necessities. I mean, what do you use to influence them to come to the Gambia? Certainly, it's not something that anyone will just say, okay, I want to go to Africa and stay in a community without electricity, living all these luxurious in the United States.
Sure.
What inspires them?
You used my phrase, actually, the phrase that I use in almost every speech, which is about your comfort zone. And I always say life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Being comfortable doesn't help you to grow. It doesn't help you to be better, happier, more alive. And I think that people really stretch and grow when they do something like this, and they learn a lot. And what they learn in the Gambia is so beautiful, and I heard it from volunteer after volunteer about just the care and compassion, the fun that they have, with their Gambian communities, and that community culture is really something important and beautiful. So part of my visit here is also to highlight that culture, and the people who come here just really fall in love with this beautiful country.
So how do they utilize the experience gained in the Gambia when they return to the United States?
Well, let me tell you something interesting. There was a study that came out in the US 2024, and it said, what are employers looking for? We now have artificial intelligence. It's starting to take on a whole new texture in the US. And yesterday's skill sets are not tomorrow's skill sets. That survey asked employers what they were looking for. The number one skill was adaptability. Adaptability. And the others were flexibility, creativity, teamwork, all skills that you learn. Communication, right? How to communicate across difference, how to adapt to environments that have changing circumstances. These are all things that volunteers learn and bring back to the United States with them as a skill set, in addition to the beauty of the cultural norms that really impact them for the rest of their lives.
I know you have interacted with some of them when they're back in the United States. What has been their key challenge or key experience? Having to come to the Gambia and, like I said, live in remote communities. What has been the key challenge that they have faced?
Well, I would say the living conditions are not the challenge.
Okay.
People can adapt to all kinds of things when they're out in a community. I think it's being far away from friends and family, things you might miss out on, when you're far away, birthdays, things like that back home. That's a key challenge. And I think adapting to a new culture is always challenging, because there are things that happen around you that you don't understand. And so we teach volunteers to lead with curiosity and to really ask questions so that they can understand and know what it is that's happening around them, and they themselves can adapt.
And currently, do you have any new projects that you will do you plan to implement maybe in the next 5 years under the Peace Corps program in the country?
Well, we have a very exciting new partnership with an organization called Core Africa, and that was founded by a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Morocco, an American who launched in Morocco, Malawi, and Senegal a similar program for host country nationals to serve in their own country. And after they've served for a year, they can do an exchange program and serve in another country. So it's quite a beautiful program, and we will be working on placing our volunteers together with Core Africa to see how we can work together and expand our impact by serving side by side.
Like I said at the intro, at the start of the program, this is your first time in the country. How has been the visit so far for you? I know you've
Yes.
been having meetings with stakeholders, and all that. But how do you find your visit so far in the country?
It's been absolutely amazing. So this is my final trip during my term as director. So as a new administration comes in, new leadership will come into the Peace Corps. So this is very special to me, and it has been incredibly heartwarming, honestly, to see how the communities have welcomed the volunteers, to feel the joy and the love at the community level. And I was joking that it's not only the smiling coast of Africa, it's also the fun coast of Africa. I think people really enjoy joking with each other, and I've really noticed that, and it just made me feel very welcomed.
Is that something you will say you have learned in the country that you will take back to the United States?
Well, absolutely.
And moving forward, what are you looking forward to in of course, the Peace Corps relationship with the Gambia? Like you said, you're living as a director, but what are you looking forward to in the next, 10 or 20 years?
Well, I think that change is happening very quickly. The pace of change, whether it's artificial intelligence or climate disasters, there are a lot of things that will be changing, and our ability to adapt, to grow, to do new things is what I'm excited about. As I said, how do we build on our strengths and expand our impact? We have to be able to utilize all that's around us and really look at how we can touch more and more people. In one of our countries, the volunteers were not enough to come anywhere close to getting out to all of the different schools. But they started to use technology to zoom into classrooms, and the personal connection is always the best, right? But how can we use those tools to make sure that more and more people can be impacted? Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at as we move forward.
Of course, you said the impact is visible, is enormous. We've all seen the impact of the Peace Corps. But when you look at the Gambia, the government, what has been their role in the effective implementation of this Peace Corps program?
We've had tremendous support from the government, from the invitation to come to how we work with the government to identify sites where our volunteers serve and how we design our projects and programs. I met with the Vice President earlier today, and he was incredibly supportive of the Peace Corps. President Barrow was taught by a Peace Corps volunteer, and we were able to help them reconnect. So I think there's not a government official who hasn't been impacted, him or herself, in some way by the Peace Corps. And so we've just been welcomed with open arms and really well supported.
And aside from the Vice President and the President, who are the other stakeholders that you have met, and how was the discussion with them?
Well, so we had a representative from the President's office, minister, come and participate in the opening of our building. And he also said how he was impacted by a volunteer. And he said the Gambia wouldn't be what it is today without the Peace Corps. And that was very heartwarming for me to hear.
And generally, like I said, aside from just the Peace Corps program, the U.S. and the Gambia has been a strong partner. The U.S. has been very supportive to the Gambia over the years. The Peace Corps program is just one of them. But what will you look at and say, okay, I wish we improve on this area as far as the Peace Corps program in the country is concerned? Or what are some of the new things that you think you should introduce now, to evolve? Because since 1967 to now, it's been
Sure.
over 6 decades.
Sure. So Peace Corps in some ways has been one volunteer in one community for 2 years. But we look at ourselves now much more broadly as this whole network of students, of teachers, counterparts, staff members, right? It's a shared value system of change makers at the grassroots level. And when you think about yourself, you know, in your organization in a broader way, there are many more opportunities for connection, for networking, for looking at how we work, particularly with young people, through communities of practice and training that link those young people in communities to each other. So you identify those change makers, link them to each other, link them to opportunity, and is there an opportunity to link them to change makers in Senegal or other countries? So I think that's a way with the technology that we have today that we can think about ourselves more broadly and maintain those connections in a more structured way longer term.
And how has been the support of the U.S. Embassy in the country? I mean, I'm sure they have a huge role to play. I mean, I've seen many of your programs, the ambassador or, you know, a representative from the embassy is always at these events, I mean, regarding Peace Corps. How crucial is their participation or, you know, role in the implementation of your programs?
Yes, well, the embassy has been incredibly supportive of our programs. Peace Corps is an independent agency, but we are definitely, you know, reliant on the support of the embassy, and we couldn't have asked for more. They're incredibly supportive. We have many people who have served in the Peace Corps who are ambassadors today in different countries around the world, and a lot of Peace Corps volunteers become foreign officers, foreign service officers in our State Department, at U.S. Agency for International Development, and I think that's crucial as our volunteers have lived and worked at the community level and they bring that perspective with them.
Madam Director, thank you so much for coming on this interview. Quite appreciated, and we wish you all the best. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this one-to-one interview with, like I said, the Global Director of Peace Corps, Carol Spa, who is in the country, I mean, as part of, I mean, the opening of their new office located at Bigelow, and of course, an important visit because this will also help her to better understand the impact of Peace Corps in the country, which has been here since 1967. Well, viewers, thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.